people wouldn't act like that if they weren't in pain. That is no excuse to treat somebody else like crap, to assault someone, to threaten someone, to
Amen.
harm someone in word or deed.
Yes.
Because I'm harmed. I'm here to say, nope, that is not okay. And once I've removed myself from the relating of that with that person who has harmed me, I can turn around and be like, yeah, I can understand they had this childhood and that they don't have the skill sets and all of that. But it doesn't
It doesn't
change
condone that. Yes.
that their behavior belongs to them.
Oh.
And that if I'm concerned, if I have been treated badly, and in order to excuse the behavior or maybe not feel so bad about it, I am being compassionate about somebody else's suffering. I have not given myself my own ears and my own heart that I need in that moment.
Yes, Shanti, I love, and I hope, all the people that listen to us, they are super open minded and hearted, the ones that follow our podcast. Obviously, we have other people that are open us into other possibilities too. But I love what you just shared because, often it's a justified misbehavior or justify just poor way of treating people like, hey, I had trauma and you got to suck it up. I've had in the past, long time ago, clients that thought you have to understand me and you have to give me this for free and you have to respond right now to me because I'm hurting. And and let's talk about this because you and I often talk about this without regarding me as a human.
Right.
I know you understand it without, like, I get you, I hear you, all that you went through. And there's two of us in this relationship. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about when it's just the clients, children, people, they come and they, share their quota or project their stuff or use their behavior as an excuse for treating you rude.
Yeah.
And you are out of
I have examples. I've got lots of them.
Yes, please.
But I'm going to use this one example. A woman I have almost no contact with on Facebook came into a chat and told me that something that I wrote on her post caused her to have an anxiety attack the entire morning. And I sat there, I'm like, what in the world can I do about that? And I hadn't said anything mean. I had not done no harm. It was a sentence about in her shoe, it was her thing. And I said, well, in this case, I did XYZ. It was a comment like that. If it was me, right? I did XYZ. And she said it caused her an anxiety attack. I was like, how am I supposed to respond? Because I cannot take responsibility for this. And had I been, let's say I have my own trauma, let's say I have my own things, and this lands in my inbox. This person has not thought for 1 second how that was going to land for me. They simply demanded that I take responsibility for an episode of their anxiety. And part of me could really care and lean in, and the other part of me was just livid. Like, who do you think you are to come into here and talk to me like this?
Yes.
And tell me that I have caused something by a sentence online. Not just that have I caused something, I've caused harm. And now I have to repair it. Those were some of her language.
Huh.
And I was like, there's nothing for me to repair here. I've done absolutely nothing warranting repair. But the entitlement, I call it weaponized entitlement.
That's it. Weaponized entitlement. I have that written in my notes. I want to talk about that. Let's talk about that. Weaponized entitlement, please.
Mm-hmm. You owe me something because I went through an experience that I believe you caused me. But that's not the reality. I often tell people I am triggered often. I do have trauma. I live that reality. Yes. But nobody triggers me. Those triggers are within me. Nobody triggers me. A facial expression can cause a response inside my body. And in the privacy of my own being, I care deeply for those reactions.
Yes.
And then in that care of caring deeply for those reactions, I have learned to only respond, not to react to my environment, but to respond appropriately to my environment.
Mm.
And that
Yes.
keeps me out of that weaponized entitlement. And weaponized entitlement is something I'm seeing a lot in the trauma informed circles that are out there and in people in their under 25. It's in every age group, but it's just seems to be concentrated in those areas. And
Yeah.
in my experience. So it's just a
Well,
blanket.
my experience the same. I get less and less entitled people around because I have one focus on removing that out of
Yeah,
myself
for
first.
sure.
And the second one, it's my duty. And I know you are such an expert on this, but it is my duty to set boundaries for myself. It's the most
Mhm,
loving thing that I can do for me. And
mhm.
I truly believe that it's a kind thing to do with others. When I set boundaries for myself and I really, live through them, and that's truly to care. But
Yep.
let's talk about the boundaries piece in caring, in entitlements. What is the piece that boundaries plays? And I know you really are an expert on this, that you deliver in your groups thing. And I've not seen anyone in the world, that I know a lot of people and masters and mentors and family constellation experts, etc., that truly has these boundary skills like you do. Please share a little bit about that, Shanti.
Well, it's all really good tied in with care. Without care, you cannot have boundaries. You have to tap into care for yourself in order to even begin to craft your boundaries. And I always tell people your boundaries are 98% about yourself and 2% about others and relating to others. And you're not going to say no to someone else if you're trying to get care from outside. Yes, we need each other. I tell people that too. We are interdependent. We need other human beings. And that's a whole nother story, but our needs arise in response to the world that we live in. And me teaching boundaries and care right now is my response to the world that we are currently living in.
Yes.
And care has to, and I've taught a lot of the things for a long time, but care is, if I had to only give people one thing to think about, it's that the care that lives inside of you is everything you think you need outside yourself,
Mm.
but it's inside. And what's required is I'm going to use the word devotion to cultivating a relationship, to the awareness of it, because it's already here. It's not hard. It's
Right.
simply, you've been riding your bicycle backwards. And now while
Mm.
the bike is still moving, you got to turn it around
Yes.
on the bike and go forward. It's going to be messy. You may fall, you get back up.
Yes,
And
it's going to be messy.
yep,
Let's talk about that, Shanti. As you complete this thought of yours, because it's like the depth of you and the depth of your work and the depth of how you support people really own it all and be more in their own boundaries, and just love really themselves and care. I really think care is
I do have
is,
to say
is
right there, though, like,
oh,
you don't have to
please.
love yourself to have a
Oh, I
relationship
love
with
that.
care
Please bring
inside.
it on.
Because I
Yes,
tell people all the time, and I mean, I get into conversations with people all the time, well, what you're talking about is love. I said, no, so many people have been wounded in the place that love lives.
that's right.
And
Oh,
if they try to love themselves, it's nothing but more pain.
that's true.
And you can care without loving yourself. Think about it like,
Boom.
you run into a kid in the grocery store whose parents has been lost from its parents. You don't love that kid, but you can
That's
care
true.
for him or
Yes.
her and take her to somebody and say, hey, and you can stay there and you do that and you don't think twice about it. You just do it.
Mm,
Not
mm.
because you're special, but because you care.
See how why care is so important right now, and I love this. Thank you so much for bringing this clarification, because just like gratitude, the love
Mhm.
yourself thing is very, I just said it, like it's very automated.
Yeah.
I just said it like that. So thank you for that. Let's talk about, I have a couple of comments from our podcast before that I
Mhm.
received privately from a couple of people. asking you these questions, if you're okay with that, because
Sure.
it all is in the realm of care. They are asking, Yvonne, if you could ask Shanti, how, listen to this. They said, I'm translating from Spanish to English. I have a lot of unconscious beliefs that I'm consistently being told I have to eliminate them. But how
Mhm.
do I eliminate my unconscious beliefs around caring and around lack of boundaries? I'm not sure if this is clear, my translation, but she's really wanting to say, I have to eliminate my unconscious beliefs, and I have no clue how to.
Yeah, that's because that's not how it works. I mean,
Exactly.
look, okay, let me just say, I think of yourself as a house, and there's lots of windows and lots of doors. There's lots of ways in. I consider kind of the mindful or mindset work kind of like trying to go through the back door with a crowbar.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love you.
When the front door is wide open, and I'll tell you what that wide open front door is.
Mm,
Care.
yes.
Because when you cultivate this internal care, this relationship to care internally, any belief that doesn't serve you eventually walks out the door, eventually over time.
Mm,
Not immediately, not right away. And it's a that's why I call it a devotion. And if we want to go into a practical area, it's a practical life skill, care.
yes.
So it's something you have to practice, but it's something that's already inside of you. So it's got both end dimensions and feelings to it. And the thing about care that is I mean, I work with groups between 3 weeks and a year. And 3 weeks, they grok it and they can run with it. And
Mm,
after a year, there is no doubt anymore. Care is fully
yes.
present, it's taken up full residence because it is innate and natural. It's not
I
something
love that.
after the cultivation of the relationship with care, it becomes, like I said, a default. It is automatic. It is not
Yes.
something I have to sit down and do.
Mm.
And I begin to live my life from that as my fuel.
Yeah, yeah, you do, you do. I mean, I keep feeling it, and I see all that you
And
do, who you serve. Yes.
to this person, it's like I just want to tell them there's nothing wrong with you, and there's
I
nothing
know,
wrong
I
with
know. That's my next one, because
yeah,
she came with, so I cared deeply. That's why I chose her
yeah.
question. And then the next one is from a gentleman in Guadalajara. His name is
Mhm.
Jorge. He said, Yvonne, I've been consistently told that I need to end the blame game, all the fighting and criticism that my wife gives to me. Look at what he says.
Mhm.
I chose it for this. How can I help her end the blame game and the fighting and criticism towards me?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
know.
Well, you can't
I know.
because we don't have control over what other people do. But what you can
Amen.
begin to say is, honey, when you talk to me that way, it doesn't work for me.
No.
Honey, when you use that tone of voice, it really hurts me.
Mm.
Honey, when you put that on me, it's not the truth.
Mm.
You begin to speak for yourself without harming her, without blaming her, without putting on her, but saying, hey, the way you're speaking to me is not working. It's hurting me. And the way you're speaking to me I don't want to move towards you.
Mm.
And I want to be together with you. You're my partner. We're teammates. And when you speak to me this way, I don't feel like that's our reality.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
connecting at the same time, but it's different. This is skill set, right? It's being able to, and I'm talking about a wife. If this was a stranger, I'd tell them to fuck off. So
Yeah, of course. Shanti, see how she's the master of care, because my first initial reaction was like, I'm going to tell them to F off,
yeah,
So I'm glad you brought the care piece into this. And sometimes saying F off is caring,
of
for
course.
at least for
Sure. At
myself.
least for yourself, yes.
Exactly. And it's not that least, actually. But
Yeah.
okay, the next one, Shanti. I've been waiting for this day to have you here. It's from a girl, Amy. She says that in the groups that she belongs on Facebook, now we're going to bring social media.
Sure.
she says, I'm not perfect. I have a positive mindset, but not all of the things in my life, her name is Amy, are positive. I'm in these groups where